Your science teacher stood at the front of the classroom, pointed at a diagram, and told you exactly how lightning works. Hot air rises, cold air sinks, friction builds up static electricity. Zap. It's clean. It's simple. It fits perfectly on a whiteboard. It's also not what actually happens. The real story of lightning is stranger, faster, and honestly, a little bit terrifying. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand something about the sky above you that almost nobody does. Let's start with the biggest myth of all. Here's what you were taught. Clouds build up negative charge at the bottom, the ground has positive charge, opposites attract, and boom, lightning. That part is technically true. But it skips the part that actually matters. How does electricity cross a gap of literal air? Air doesn't conduct electricity. You know this. It's why you're not being electrocuted right now, just standing in a room. So for lightning to happen, something has to physically break through the air first. And that something is where the real story begins. Scientists call it a stepped leader. And here's the part that never makes it into any textbook. It moves in invisible, jagged steps. Literally testing different paths through the air, like a hand feeling around in the dark for a door handle. You're not watching one continuous bolt when you see lightning. You're watching the end result of thousands of invisible attempts happening in a fraction of a second. But that's not even the strangest part. Here's something almost nobody knows, including most adults. Lightning doesn't just come down, it also goes up. As that invisible stepped leader creeps down from the cloud, the ground below doesn't just sit there waiting. Objects on the ground, trees, buildings, even people, start sending up their own faint streamers of charge, reaching upward. It's like the sky and the ground are both reaching for each other in the dark. When one of those upward streamers finally connects with the downward leader, that's the moment. That's when the circuit completes. And then, this is the part that breaks people's brains. The flash you actually see travels upward, not downward. That blinding streak of light racing from cloud to ground. It's actually the return stroke, and it travels from the ground up to the cloud at about 1/3 the speed of light. So, the lightning bolt you've seen your entire life, the thing you drew as a kid, the thing on every weather app, is visually happening backwards from what you think. And that's still not the weirdest thing about lightning. Because it turns out, lightning isn't just electricity, it's also something else entirely, something that sounds more like science fiction than weather. In 1994, a NASA satellite designed to detect gamma rays from deep space picked up something impossible. Gamma ray bursts, the kind normally associated with dying stars and black holes, were coming from inside Earth's own atmosphere, specifically from thunderstorms. Scientists eventually figured out what was happening, and it's genuinely one of the strangest confirmed facts in atmospheric science. Powerful lightning storms can accelerate electrons to nearly the speed of light, producing brief bursts of gamma radiation. And in some cases, these bursts create positrons. Positrons are antimatter, the antimatter counterpart to electrons. That means, somewhere above a thunderstorm, right now, on an ordinary rainy day, nature might be quietly producing antimatter, the same substance that shows up in theoretical physics papers about particle colliders and science fiction warp drives. Your science teacher's diagram did not have a box for that. This phenomenon is called a terrestrial gamma ray flash, and researchers are still trying to fully understand how common it actually is. Here's one more thing most people go their entire lives without knowing. Lightning doesn't only strike downward toward the ground. High above thunderstorms, way above where commercial planes fly, there's an entire second category of lightning that most people have never even heard of. They have names that sound like they belong in a fantasy novel. Sprites. Massive, reddish flashes that shoot upward for a fraction of a second, sometimes over 50 miles high. Blue jets. Narrow cones of blue light that shoot from the tops of storms toward the edge of space. Elves. rapidly expanding rings of light, triggered by the electromagnetic pulse of a powerful lightning strike below. These were considered pilot folklore for decades, stories dismissed by scientists, until the 1990s, when they were finally caught on camera and confirmed to be real. So every time a storm rolls through, there's a very real chance that something is happening above it that looks like it belongs in a different atmosphere on a different planet. There's one more mystery scientists still haven't fully solved, and it's stranger than anything we've covered so far. For centuries, people have reported seeing glowing orbs of light, sometimes the size of a grapefruit, sometimes larger, floating silently through the air during thunderstorms. They drift through open windows. They pass through walls. And then, seconds later, they simply vanish, sometimes with a small explosion, sometimes without a trace. For a long time, scientists dismissed these reports entirely, assuming they were hallucinations, optical illusions, or simple misidentification of regular lightning. But here's the problem. Too many credible witnesses, including pilots, scientists, and trained observers, have reported nearly identical experiences, independently, in different countries, decades apart. This phenomenon is called ball lightning, and to this day, there is no single agreed-upon scientific explanation for how it forms or why it behaves the way it does. Some researchers believe it's related to vaporized silicon from soil struck by lightning. Others believe it involves microwave radiation trapped in a plasma bubble. Neither theory has been proven conclusively, which means somewhere in the world, right now, during an ordinary thunderstorm, something might be floating through someone's living room that modern science still cannot fully explain. So why does any of this matter, beyond just being a fun fact? Because lightning isn't just a weather event. It's one of the only places on Earth where nature spontaneously produces the kind of extreme physics we normally need billion-dollar particle accelerators to study. Every thunderstorm above your head is running a natural experiment involving gamma rays, antimatter, and electrical phenomena we only fully confirmed within the last 30 years. And most people will go their entire lives watching storms roll by without ever knowing any of this is happening. So next time a storm rolls in, you're not just watching electricity discharge from a cloud, you're watching one of the most misunderstood, most poorly explained phenomena in the natural world, happening for free, right above your house. If your mind was just a little bit blown, hit subscribe, because next week we're tackling another thing school got wrong. Drop a comment. What's something you learned in school that turned out to be completely wrong? I'll see you in the next one.